Yes!
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna get directly into this one. So first off, let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of reskinning. Recycling weapon and armor cosmetics is something that always has and unfortunately always will be something done in the Destiny franchise. Now, one part of the fan base would say that reskinning gear is lazy and it can't possibly be that difficult to think of brand new weapon and armor cosmetics, while the other part of the Destiny fan base may not be overjoyed about reskin gear but might feel that it's pretty cool when one of their favorite cosmetics for a weapon or armor piece returns in some way. Now, I'm one of those people who agrees with both sides, but I also try to perceive things as logically as possible. Yes, reskinning for the most part does suck, and seeing recycled cosmetics and content that we paid for isn't always exciting, but when weapons and armor are reskinned right, it isn't that big of a deal in my opinion. Now, when I say there's a right way to reskin things, I'm saying that I'm cool with it if the same cosmetic isn't spammed over the course of the game's life cycle or in a short period of time. Year 1 of Destiny 2 had this problem, and it was incredibly noticeable because not only were weapon models being recycled far too often, these weapons were also in the same archetype. On the screen, you will see a small showcase of Year 1 weapons that looked exactly alike, and you will also realize that the weapon model used for beta weapons, such as Better Devils and Nightshade, were milked for all of their worth. Now, there's about 5 or 6 different Better Devils and Nightshade lookalikes in Destiny 2, and it was worsened by the fact that all Year 1 weapons had static rolls and one trait perk. For example, the Iron Banner's Time-Worn Spire and the Crucible's Autumn Wind were literally the same exact weapon, except the Time-Worn Spire had Zen Moment as his one trait perk, whereas the Autumn Wind had Under Pressure. I'm certain there are stat differences to further differentiate these two weapons, but when two weapons look exactly alike and function exactly alike, the small stuff makes little to no difference in the long run. And for this same exact reason, a huge chunk of the weapons from Year 1 might not ever get the random rolls treatment. And I've noticed this because Bungie has been super particular in regards to the Year 1 weapons that they decided to put random rolls on. Service Revolver and Better Devils look alike, but they are the only random roll capable weapons in the game that use that particular cosmetic. Not to mention that these weapons are in 2 completely different archetypes, and they drop from 2 completely different sources. Service Revolver is a Vanguard weapon, and Better Devils is a Crucible weapon. The same also applies to Last Perdition and Swift Ride, in the sense that Last Perdition is in a Crucible loot pool, whereas Swift Ride was one of the Year 1 weapons that received a Black Armory style makeover and is in the loot pool for weapons that can drop after completing a Black Armory Forge. And that realization right there is why I believe that if Bungie retains this same ideology in regards to what Year 1 weapons will receive random rolls, we will never, and I hope I don't bite my tongue on this, but we will never have to worry about reskin spam ever again. Luckily, gear themed after or exclusive to a particular activity is for the most part protected from the reskin spam, because I doubt that we'll ever see the weapon model used for the inaugural address, for example, outside of the Leviathan Ray, or another weapon that looks like the Blast Furnace. But now that I think about it, I recall this happening once in Destiny 1 when the Crota's End Raid scout rifle, known as the Fang of Iryu, received a reskin in the form of the, I believe it was called the Intellect Shadow or something like that. Now, this was a scout rifle as well, but it can only drop after completing Crucible matches. Then again, I'm a huge advocate of Trials of the Nine weapons and armor returning to the game in some way, shape, or form, due to the fact that Bungie confirmed that Trials of the Nine won't ever see the light of day in Destiny 2 again. Members of the Destiny community, including myself, feel that the Reckoning's loot pool should be updated to include the Trials of the Nine weapons and armor, since Reckoning, like Trials of the Nine, is also 9 themed. I would love to see a return of my favorite pulse rifle, the Darkest Before, even if its name was changed to imply that it's not the original Trials pulse rifle, but a reskin. And that would be one of the only times I would actually want a weapon to be reskinned. If you've seen the Shadowkeep launch trailer, and I'm pretty sure at this point in time you have, there's a part of the video that briefly talks about Armor 2.0, and one of the cosmetics used in this trailer was the Trials of the Nine armor for the Warlock class, which had the entire community speculating that this was some sort of foreshadowing of the return of Trials of the Nine, or Trials of the Nine armor would be available as a universal ornament. Now, sometime after this trailer went live, Cosmo from Bungie tweeted that this was an accident and the Trials of the Nine armor won't be returning as a universal ornament. Hold up, wait a minute, listen, I call 100% BS BS on this. How do you accidentally do something like this? Better yet, how do you accidentally put the Trials armor in a video like this? Of all things, the Trials armor. If you ask me, this was intentional, but Bungie forgot to remove the Trials armor from this trailer and didn't realize that it was still there. The other part of me feels that this was definitely some sort of foreshadowing of the Trials armor returning in some fashion as stated previously, and Cosmo tried to cover it up like it was an accident. Look, Bungie, we weren't born yesterday, and in the 5 years that I've been a Destiny fan, I can tell you that this community has some of the most intelligent and opportunistic people that I've ever seen in my life. I would never have the patience to figure out a raid from top to bottom while going for world's first, data mining, and the list goes on. Point blank period, Bungie, we're not stupid, and y'all definitely put this armor in this trailer for a reason. Now, I think I made it fairly evident how I feel about reskin gear as a whole, but there's one thing that I have to be realistic about. Think about what I just said about theme gear and its uniqueness. That same concept of uniqueness is usually reserved for exotic weapons and pinnacle legendary weapons because that's one of their main selling points, right? But that unfortunately does not apply to the run-of-the-mill legendary weapons found in the general loot pool or from various vendors in the game. Factoring that in is when it's fair game to reskin things, especially when a weapon looks exactly like another weapon but has a different drop source, like the Better Devils and Service Revolver that we spoke of previously. Y'all probably knew I was going to end up talking about this because you can't bring up reskins without talking about this. But when the Garden of Salvation raid gear was revealed, the Destiny community went berserk. That's because the Garden of Salvation raid armor looks exactly the same as the Eververse armor released in Curse of Osiris. The only difference is the blue holograms present on the Garden of Salvation raid gear, but for the most part it's exactly the same armor. Now, as a Destiny player, I can tell you that one of the most exciting things to see in a DLC release is the new weapons and armor, and the raid gear has always been so unique and themed after the raid itself. It's expected for your mind to run rampant with ideas in regards to how cool it would look, but man, Bungie, you really shot yourselves in the foot with this one. Now, I'm not going to go on a tirade about how horrible of an idea this was, but for the love of goodness, I hope that this doesn't ever happen again. Alright, everybody, I'm all done here. Reskins can be considered lazy by most people, but in the comment section, tell me how you feel when weapon and armor cosmetics are recycled. You made it this far, so if you found this video to be useful, do me a favor and thumb wrestle that like button till it turns blue. And if you're new to my neck of the woods, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you don't ever miss a video of the most elite gaming content. And with that being stated, 1LHD is over and out. Y'all take it easy.